Hey, everybody, welcome to the first annual and inaugural Lunch and Learn. We appreciate everybody that's logging on. There's some still people saying that they're on their way and logging on, but we appreciate everybody that has already joined us at this juncture. I want to give a shout out, though, to Chris and Megan with the DODD training team, who have been instrumental in helping us navigate and kind of expand the way that we build community amongst the centers, our staff, trauma champions, and just the opportunity to learn and have this experience together. So thank you, Chris and Megan.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason. Thanks to everyone for being here. I am happy to be here and I'm happy to be your presenter today. I have a little presentation for you, and everything I offer is always an invitation, and you need to take care of yourself the best. So I'm not that expert, you are. So please take care of yourself, and anything I offer, you just decide. So this is our discussion today, putting the four-part plan into action for yourself and others. So I'm going to start with a little bit of science. So I used the four pillars of well-being for neuroplasticity from Richie Davidson at the Center for Healthy Minds Innovation, and you'll see that on one side. And then on the other side, I'm comparing that to the trauma responsive care intervention activities. So I'm using Richie Davidson's work because I feel like it aligns so perfectly with our TRCC, that's the trauma responsive care activities and interventions. Now, I recognize most of you have received this training, but some of you may have not. So I'm just going to ask that you fake it right now, pretend like you know what these words mean. And if you information, because I'm not here to go over these in detail, but if you want that information, I'm sure someone at your center can give you lots more information and detail about that. So your campus advocates or Jason, someone will connect you. So we start with awareness. And this is when our mind and our body are in the same place at the same time. So it's really having an intention to pay attention. That's called meta awareness. And an example of not having this, which is what's probably most familiar to us, are examples like if you drive home from your regular commute and you get to your home and you go, I don't remember even driving here, because you're on autopilot. Or if you read something and you read like a whole passage and you get to the end and you go, what was that about? I wasn't paying attention. So when we practice awareness, we're doing it with the intention of being together, mind and body. And so if you look across, you see awareness for our TRCC model. Some examples would be the 3Ps, lift off landing, the anger volcano. And I think you're also going to recognize that I could have mixed these around. So I could have used other TRCC examples in other areas. So if you see it differently, I would totally agree. I just wanted to give you some examples. But yeah, we could do this as an activity if we wanted to. The next one is connection. And this includes kindness and compassion and gratitude. And it connects with the safety script, reflect, honor, and connect. So when we connect to ourselves and then when we connect to others, that's where this becomes deeper. Insight is the next one, and this is about the narrative that we carry about ourselves. So becoming curious about yourself and developing that self knowledge. And it could be about yourself as well as someone else. We do this through the TRCC activities of the onion effect or the cliffs of safety. And then the next one is purpose. And this is about your purpose, your direction in life. What are you passionate about? Connection to something that gives you a greater sense of your identity, having meaning and purpose. And then for our TRCC activity, that would align with the person mandala or the masks activity. So I wanted to draw a comparison to the four-part plan as we have the model in the TRCC training to my adapted model. This chart is showing that comparison because I wanted to adjust this for what I believe is kind of important and also a little bit understated. So Stephen Porges, the polyvagal theory founder, says that connection right now, this feedback loop of connection, is the most important part of the polyvagal theory. So when we develop our awareness, our connection, and then we have insight into that, it's developing the information around that. So when I know myself and I know sensations in my body, I know where I am in space, I know what I feel like on the inside, I start to have more awareness and insight into what that means about where I am showing up. And then I have a chance to make a choice. So, where you see the TRCC model, physical, that would align up with what I'm calling movement. So, it's basically the same thing. And I'm just giving two examples here. So, dance and walk are the same. Mindfulness would line up. I'm using the same word, mindfulness. So, same, same. Sensory, I'm using the word connection. And it's very similar in that it could be deep pressure for sensory or sugar scrub, but also working with others, connecting with others. And then concentration, I'm aligning the word rest. And because I think our culture is rest deprived, I think we spend a lot of time producing, and the focus is on how much we produce and how much we get done in a short amount of time and speed and all those things, that we have neglected the other side of our our parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest side. So our nervous system wants to be in balance. So I feel like as we go away from that, we need to consciously bring that back on by doing some things that facilitate rest. So I like the idea of safety builds connection, connection builds insight, and insight builds intuition. So this is a handout that some of you may have seen. It's also this is the nervous system reattuning. So those four components, and then this is a front back situation. So if you see it, you'll notice that on one side has the pictures and the other side has the words. So we start with the movement. So that again, this is my adaptation, and I'm using this, or I developed this based off of the TRCC model, as well as my training in integrative medicine practices, mindfulness and yoga predominantly, but whole person health is really where I want to expand and grow this model. So we start with movement, and that's the physical layer. It's what we see, it's what we feel. We feel, we live in a body, right? We feel, we have mass. Most of the time, we don't have the awareness or connection to our bodies. We kind of only listen to our bodies when something hurts. The next realm or component of this is the mindfulness. That's the mental layer. So this is where we practice pausing. So pausing could be noticing our breath, noticing our thoughts, noticing our physical body, how we're feeling. Mindfulness is going to build empathy. And then in the next layer, connection will build compassion. But it's then, what do I do with that understanding? So we need to create that pause and check in with ourselves, ground myself, rather than taking on that energy or that distress of other, because that's doing no good to anyone. And then the last component is rest. And this I'm calling the essence layer. This is about restoration. So the body needs structure and prediction. And a well rested body and mind is going to be more open to receiving the subtle messages and then available for transformation and healing. So as we go from the most gross level movement, each level becomes a little more subtle. And we're going to practice this today. So when you get to the most subtle layers, it goes beyond language, it goes beyond words. So really, we have to rest so that we can be open to hearing and feeling what those methods of communication really are. All right, so we're going to start with each of these components. So the first one being movement. So most of the time we're sort of disconnected from the neck down. There's this invisible line, and we live with our thoughts. And then, like if something breaks down, then we recognize or we feel our body. So the purpose of practicing movement with mindfulness is to break down that separation. So we're going to reattune to an integrated whole mind body self. And we're going to do movements moving from the outside. We're going to do some movements in our body outside, but then eventually we're going to come into a more subtle layer of that so that we move from the inside. The reason for slow movements is because the parasympathetic nervous system responds to slow movement. And that's what builds that interoception, which you've probably learned about already. That's where we can discover our sensations. And it really helps the body's natural rhythms such as digestion. So sometimes you don't need the huge movements to notice a profound shift. So sometimes, even if someone is very still, they could be feeling a profound shift on the inside. And then the last thing I want to say here, oh, well, first of all, let me say that movement, what we're going to do today, I'll offer some things that you could maybe do that, no one would like know or see, but you might feel it on the inside. But there are other movements we're going to do today that you might not do, in your normal workday or situation or whatnot. But movement could also include play or housework or just walking or even like active recovery. So when I say movement, I'm being very broad in that sense. It's really about making that connection of intention. And then lastly, I want to say that it's important to meet our mood before we attempt to shift it. So that means that if I'm feeling very anxious or I've got a lot of thoughts, my mind is racing, I might not get as much benefit if I'm trying to say, oh, I should calm down, I should sit down, and I should meditate. That's going to be very frustrating if I'm already feeling a bunch of noise, right? So meet the mood before you ask your nervous system to make a shift. All right, so let's do some movement. So I'm going to take a step back. I invite you to come to standing if you're in a place and if you feel like coming to standing, and if you don't, then don't. But I'm going to come to standing just because I feel like I want to. All right, and we're going to start with noticing our breath in different areas of the body. So I'm going to start by placing my hands at my chest, just underneath the collarbones. You can do this here as well, or you could just place your hands in front of. So if placing hands on your body feels icky or weird or whatever, just place your hands in front of. And now I may close my eyes from time to time. You can close your eyes or you don't have to, whatever feels right for you. But with our hands here, we can begin to notice our breath at the placement of the hands. And if at any time it feels good for you to sigh on your exhale, I invite you to do that. So just taking a sigh by opening your mouth and then placing your hands either on or around your rib cage. So my fingers in front and my thumb and back. And again, I invite you to find a cycle or two of breath here. You don't have to change it, but just connect with the placement of your hands and the breath in your body. So notice this around your side body, maybe even your back body. And then placing your hands either on or in front of your belly, anywhere around your navel center or just below your navel. And again, the hands are just there as a visual cue. So breathe into the edge of the space of your hands. And now one cycle of breath like a wave, just noticing your entire body breathing. And you can release that. Now, for some of you, that may be all you need to rebalance yourself. So you could do that for yourself, maybe in the restroom or something, or you could just turn your chair and you could just notice your breath in these three places and there will be a shift. You didn't even have to change your breath, but you just noticed it. For some of you, you're going to need more movement. So I'm going to place my fingertips on my shoulders and we're going to make shoulder rolls. And you can start by doing this slowly, making them small, and noticing your breath here. So maybe half the circle is an inhale and half the circle is an exhale. And we're going in one direction right now. And then when you're ready, you'll switch the direction. So if you do 3 or 4 or whatever in one direction, then switching the other way. If you've got any shoulder tension going on, just make it smaller. If it feels appropriate and feels good in your body, make it bigger. Just notice what's happening as you breathe and as you move. And then from there, we're going to open our arms out to the side and then cross the body. So give yourself a hug. And as you open your arms, that's an inhale. And as you cross, that's an exhale. So coordinate that movement with your breath. Let the breath lead the movement. Noticing what it feels like as each arm crosses over. What does it feel like from side to side? The difference between the two sides. And then let that go. Maybe shake it out a little bit and maybe pick up one foot and then the other if you're standing. Now, if you aren't great with balance, you could place your hands on a table, or if you got a chair nearby, you can place your hands on that. But I'm gonna place my hands on my hips and we're gonna go from side to side, picking up maybe the heel or the whole foot. So sometimes we may feel like I need to get out of here. Okay, so when the sympathetic system goes into that flight, the body wants to move and get out, but we may not be able to. So, what can we do? We can start to send the physical cue of walking. So, you can add your arms in here if you like. So, we're just walking. And this allows the body to get some of that movement that it might be craving, even if we're in a situation where we can't actually leave. We're reflecting, oh, my body wants to leave. We're honoring that by giving it something to do. And we're connecting by linking our breath to some movement. And now you can make this bigger and do whatever you want. So you might want to move from side to side. You might want to sway. You might want to twist. So I'm going to ask you to find like an inner athlete. So we're all going to be athletes right now. And find a sport that you think you would like to do with your movements. So I'll show you some, but you do whatever you want. So maybe it's basketball. Maybe you want to shoot hoops. Now, obviously, you can tell by my form, I don't do this, but it's just a movement, right? We're just playing. Maybe it's tennis. So you could do your swing, your tennis racket, whoosh, forehand, backhand, whatever. Maybe it's golf. So you could do a golf swing. Find your inner golfer. Whoosh, look at that. All in one, yes. Maybe someone has made you angry and you need to say no. You can push your hand out and say no, no, no. Or if that's too aggressive, you just say no thanks. The hand is right here. It's a little closer. I'm not quite ready. No thanks. Maybe a boxer. You want to punch it out? If you're really upset, whoosh, punch it out. Do some whatever punching. Um, or you could be a skier, so side to side. You could put your hands behind your back, speed skating. So whatever. I can't see you, and maybe you don't see others. So have fun with this. We're just moving, and then whatever you're doing, start to slow it down. Make it smaller. Whatever you were doing, make it smaller and smaller. And then feel your feet underneath you. And let's take 3 integrating breaths. So we're going to inhale and lift up onto the balls of our feet if you're standing as your arms raise over your head. And then exhale and we'll draw everything back down. Do that 2 more times. Inhale and float up any amount and float back down. And last time. Actually, this time let's stay in the pose. You don't have to hold your breath, so breathe easy. Stay in the pose, fix your gaze. Let yourself get big. Maybe spread your arms out to the sides and become a big star. You're the center of the universe. Make yourself big. And then when you're ready, exhale through your mouth. Shake anything out. Exhale again through the mouth. And now pause here. Either soften your gaze or close your eyes. And notice how you feel on the inside. So the body is still, but what do you notice? Maybe you notice some tingling sensations, some heat. Maybe you notice your breath. What do you notice in your front body? And what do you notice in your back body? And you feel your feet on the floor. And then the crown of your head lifting. Maybe place your hands at or on your heart. Make that connection inside. When you're ready, we'll move on. All right, this is the mental layer. So mindfulness facilitates the other 3 components of the 4-part plan. And I wanted you to bring an item with you. So if you have that right now, feel free to place that in your hands as we work through the mindfulness layer. I'm just going to say a few words about each of these. So mindfulness affects movement by facilitating the relaxation response. So when we are mindful of our body, then the body may change position. So you may notice this when you've been sitting for a while and you get really quiet. You go, oh, I noticed something. It might be tension or it might be ease. You might start noticing, oh, maybe I had a headache before and now my headache it's gone, or I feel better now. We change position if something starts to get too stuck. And if you want to keep moving right now, please, by all means, I'm all for that. So continue to move or do whatever you need to. Mindfulness facilitates thoughts by taking us out of old patterns and maybe offering new perspectives. So, a lot of our thoughts are ruminations about the past or expectations of the future. So, one question that I ask myself all the time is, what thoughts do I want stored in the playlist of my mind? Practicing mindfulness helps us get out of those ruminations. It facilitates connection to other living beings, people, animals, or plants, because we start to feel their energy, their vibration. And when we become aware of that, we will also, it's like a reflection back to us. So we start to understand that there's less, it breaks down the separation between you and me and others. And then it facilitates deeper rest by shifting the energy from thinking to stillness. So when we enter a state of deep stillness, this allows the body and mind to have actual recovery. So now, with your item in your hands, and I have a stone. I like to collect these when we go to Lake Michigan in the summer, so that's what I brought. But it doesn't matter what you have, just anything. I wanted you to have this so that you have the physical um, item with you right now. And I'm going to do a shortened version of the meditation that you see here. This is live on the Wellness Project webpage under the meditation playlist. So it's about 10 minutes. And I'm just going to give you a taste of that. But if you want the full meditation, that's where you would go to find that. So bring yourself into the item that you brought with you in your hands. And it might be on your lap or it might be on a table, it doesn't matter. And you might still be wanting to move, and that's totally fine too. Just feel your body in this space. So if you're sitting, feel the chair supporting the weight of your body. Now bring to mind this special place for you, this place in nature. And I'm going to go through each of our senses. So rather than getting lost in stories or memories, I just want you to connect with sensations. So begin with thinking or feeling the sights of this special place for you. And notice the colors and the shapes. And if you could paint the picture, what would you paint in your mind's eye right now to identify this special place for you? And then bring to mind the sounds of this special place for you in nature. Maybe it's birds, maybe it's water, maybe it's grass or leaves. Now bring to mind any smells from this place. Maybe it's the smell of the ocean, the smell of fresh cut grass. Maybe it's the smell of flowers or citrus fruits. Now bring to mind the sense of touch. So maybe in this place you are barefoot and maybe you feel sand beneath your feet or water. What does the temperature of the air feel like on your skin? Now the sense of taste. So any reminders of taste of this place that's so special for you. And now feeling your feet on the floor, feeling your spine elongated in this space. and feeling yourself held by this special place for you. And knowing that this place lives within you and you have access to it at any time you need. Be noticing one cycle of breath here, and then when you're ready, you can place your special item to the side, or you can keep it in your hands, whatever you prefer. The
Holly,
next,
Before you go on,
yes,
can I ask a couple questions? Because it might
yes,
be some things that are on people's minds too. I know you're really focused on helping us be well, which I appreciate, but also apply to the people we serve. Is that so? I have a photo. So I have a photo of a pelican on a pole, on an old dock pole, right, in Tampa Bay. When my grandparents had a house down there, we would summer down there. So historically, it would have reminded me of that house. Now that I have that photo, it's in combination of photos with my mother that I have, right?
mhm,
Everybody knows has passed away. So is that similar what you're inviting us? And I don't want to put her on blast, but Mel, when I came into Cambridge today, said she had a rock, and she told me what that rock represented to her and those kind of things, which I so appreciated her sharing and trusting me with that information. Are those similar to what we promote, like for people serve transitional items? Like, is there a blanket? Is there a photo? Is there something that's meaningful from their family that they can we can introduce to help them so they don't worry, have anxiety, and those kind of things if they're not around, and just reminds them of them and connects them to the five senses? Does that make sense?
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. I think it's both and. I think there's something that we get from an item, and then there's something that we get from the memory of the item. So I think as long as you feel safe enough with those memories, yes, absolutely, connecting it is fine. I think it starts with again the body memory. The body remembers what it feels like. So connecting with that sense first. When we feel safe enough, then we connect. When we can connect, then we gain that insight. So, yes, thank you. That was a great question and conversation. Um,
Yeah, and what was funny is this time the experience was much different because what I latched onto was the food. Actually, I remembered the place that we commonly went to as a family to eat. And historically, I hadn't connected that experience or that photo to eating out with everybody. So it was good for me to make that connection. Going back, can I also ask? I know I didn't want to interrupt you because you were doing so well and on a flow. The physical piece, that's
mhm.
the same as what we talk about in our 4-part plan. Like, hey, does somebody need to do some wall push-ups? Do they need to be on a sports team? Do they need to walk and talk and all those other things? So that physical stuff also applies to the people we serve. Like I heard in your, hey, do they need to play tennis? Do they need to play basketball? Do they need to run? Do they need to do this? So that same concept also applies to the people we serve.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And I would say, for someone who needs more sensation, like heavy work is a great thing for some people, but some people like more of a light touch. So they might want to like brush their hair. So
Mm.
it really depends. And we're going to get to how you put this together for yourself and then how this might help you when you're doing this with someone that you serve or someone that you care about.
One last question. I swear I'll let you go on. So you have coached me up on is some of the neuroscience. So you've got folks' attention. There are folks that really are interested in the neuroscience, right? And that's evolved over people getting comfortable with that. I think when we first started this initiative and we were listening to Mary, some of us are like, "Whoa!" With the neuroscience. For the physical, what does that do for our brain and the chemical release? Like, what do I get as a result of the physical?
Yeah. So a lot. So I
Okay.
would say, there have been years and years and years of studies about exercise and the mental health benefits of exercise because you're, releasing the chemicals, the stress hormones, like you're releasing all of that stuff, right? And then you're getting the adrenaline if it's a big, if you're doing a high intensity thing, like that's what you're getting from those activities, those big activities. Then when you are doing with someone else, you get the camaraderie, you get that connection and the oxytocin, and you get all that stuff. What I think our science is just now starting to bring on, thank goodness, is that we also need slow, rhythmic, repetitive movement because we're tapping into another side of our brain and our nervous system, the side that was sort of forgotten. So for not, not everybody will need to um, run to get the stress out of their system. Everyone has a different, like a big dial. Like everybody is going to tune in their system a little bit differently. So what I might need is a walk. What you might need is a nap, or movement for me might be enough, but it might not be enough for you. So it's really like understanding that our nervous system is constantly dialing this in. Like if you work in a big sound system, the sound tech is dialing all these different things in. That's what's happening. Your vagus nerve is taking care of that for you. So as the research is now saying, oh, wow, we really ignored the benefit of slow, rhythmic, repetitive movement and what that does, the messages that's sending to our brain. And I have other workshops that go into that in a much deeper way. But thank you for bringing that up, because I do like that we're now seeing this and people are curious about that.
Yeah, no, perfect. Thank you, my friend. Exactly what I was hoping to harvest. We appreciate it.
All right, so the next layer is connection, and this is our wisdom layer. And so I mentioned this before, that Stephen Porges is saying, like, hey, this is the meat on it, right? This is the most significant part, is understanding the connection between my body, the sensations I'm having, using that as information, and then making choices based on that information. So we're going to try two experiences here. Um, so again, I'm going to invite you to just stay curious about this. If you've never done anything like this, you're in a good space. So to begin, I'm going to tap just underneath my I know you probably can't see, but my collarbones are here, and I'm just tapping underneath. You could also kind of like rub right in this area. So what I'm trying to do is send messages of kindness and compassion into my heart. So as your hands are either tapping or giving some pats or some rubbing around your heart, we're just sending those thoughts again because are up. So we're going to send the messages of kindness and compassion into the heart, as the heart then will receive kindness back into our hands, is the idea here. And then from there, I'm going to take my thumb into the palm of my hand, and I'm just going to like massage the palm of my hand. So I'm going to wake up the palm of my hand. Do it a few times on one side and then a few times on the other side. Now, if we had more time, I would break this down and we would do this a little bit longer. So I'm just giving you a little teaser or a little taste of what this would feel like. And then from here, we're going to place our two hands together. So line up each of your fingers and the thumb and the palm, but leave a little space between the center of your hands. So the base of my palm, my thumb, and all of my fingers touch, and then I've got a little space between the fingers. Again, you can close your eyes or cast your gaze downward. Send all of your attention right now into that space where your thumb was rubbing the center of your palm. So send all of your energy, all of that goodness from your heart, send it into the center of your palms. And then from here, once you feel connected to the center of your palms, we're going to extend our fingertips away from each other. You could start with like a half an inch and then maybe grow it to an inch, and see if you notice any sensation between the two palms. If you don't, just bring your palms back together. If you do, then separate your hands just a little bit more, maybe 2 inches or 3 inches. And just sense the energy between your two hands. You're giving yourself permission to just experience what this might feel like. So it is possible that you might sense some connection between your two palms, feeling that vibration, that pulsation, that energy. Or maybe it's not possible right now, and that's totally fine too. You just bring your palms back together. And then when you're ready, just bring your palms together and open your eyes if they were closed. And that's something that you can continue to do for yourself. There's another way to do this where you would take your dominant hand, for me, that's my right hand. And once you really ground yourself, again, massage the center of your palms, you can scan your body. So I just start with scanning my opposite arm. I'm just rubbing my hand along. It's not touching, but it's just sort of rubbing the inside of my left arm. And this is just feeling what's called the prana, the energetic source that you all have. We all have this. It's So we're just making that connection. This is very subtle. I reminded you, or I'll remind you now that I said we would go from the gross layer to more and more subtle. Another way to do that would be with a trusted other. So you could try this with someone that you think, oh, I really did sense that connection between my two hands. I want to try it with someone else. So again, ground yourself, and then maybe with someone you want to practice with, you would take your two hands, and you could then back up a step and see if there's still that connection. Back up a step, and then you're really just sensing energy together. So if you lose it, you step forward, and if you want to keep going back, you would go back. And sometimes you'll notice another person's energy drawing you in, or you'll notice a connection. If you do play around with that, please email me. I would love to hear your stories. The kindness meditation, we're going to do that right now. I'm going to give you a taste. Again, this is like a sampler class. So I'm sorry that we're going a little bit quickly, but I want to make sure you have these experiences. So this one, you can either place your hands at your heart. I like to do that, or you could place your hands in your lap. So your choice. And this one, we begin with sending well wishes first to ourselves, then to someone we care about, then someone neutral, or maybe even someone we have a challenge with, and then to all beings. So the phrases that I like to use, and you can repeat in your mind after me: may I be healthy, may I be safe, may I be content in this moment just as it is. And then you send that well wish to a neutral person. You would say the same phrases. And then to all beings, may all beings be healthy. May all beings be safe. May all beings be content in this life just as it is. There's a lot of neuroscience around the kindness meditation. I know for some it might feel a little different. um, but the more we practice this, it builds our self compassion, it builds our connection, because now instead of feeling like I'm the only one that feels this way, I realize that others may be suffering as well, but I'm not alone. And that builds that compassion for others. And then the last layer is rest. And so knowing what rest feels like, I think we've sort of lost what rest feels like physically, mentally, emotionally, socially. Some of our great thinkers took a lot of time to rest. They spent short periods in productivity because they realized that their ideas came to them when they were in rest. So for this, you would just rub your hands together, and then I'll give you some choices. You can either place your hands covering and cupping your eyes. So you can palm your eyes. You can place your hands on top of your head. So with palms on top of your ears, and then fingers resting on your head. Or again, you can place your hands at your heart center. So rub your palms together and then pick one of those places where you want to bring in that kindness to yourself and compassion for others. And for some of you, this will be enough. Like, this is what you need. So again, just taking these little bits of time to take care of yourself. If I can play this little clip, I'm going to show you. This is at the County Board Association last year, had a conference, and I had a room at that conference where I was setting people up in positions of rest. So I invited people to come in and take a moment, and I sort of asked them some questions, and then I would set them up in these different positions. So you can see this can happen anywhere. We just have to be a little more inviting to the idea that people need rest. This is a quote attributed to Viktor Frankl: between the stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. I think that's pretty powerful for what we're talking about today. Okay, so now we bring it all together. This is where you create your 4-part plan. This is the integration. Now, you can call this a menu. You can call this your individualized support plan. You can use paper. You can do this on your phone. I just want you to have it somewhere that it's available to you. You can use the person mandala. You can post it somewhere. You can, make sure you see it. Make sure you know what's in there. So it starts with, what does my nervous system look like when I'm regulated and when I'm dysregulated. So that would be for everything from I'm happy and I feel wonderful to I'm scared or I'm angry or I'm overwhelmed, I'm nervous, I'm all the things, right? So when we know what it looks like, then we can start to understand what it feels like. So on the outside, someone might look like they're fine, but on the inside, it's what it's feeling like to them. And I'm sure you guys see this all the time that we had no idea so and so was upset because it seemed like it came out of nowhere. So, what we need to do with our friends and people we care about is create these 4-part plans so that we start to notice that, I use the example of biting lip. I'm not really a lip biter, but a lot of people are. When they start thinking about something, when they're starting to get dysregulated, they're biting their lip, or you might notice something else. So instead of saying, like, hey, Jason, quit biting your lip, or don't do that, or stop, or you're gonna blah, 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 that immediately puts up the defense of, no, I'm not, or who cares, or leave me alone, right? So instead of that, if I work with this person and I see this happening, and I know that they have something in their 4-part plan that says, hmm, when I'm this, what I need is this. And that could be I need a walk, I need a nap, I need music. Once you know what that is, you can offer that. So you don't even have to say, I see you're biting your lip. You could just say to yourself, I see that they're biting their lip. So I'm going to offer them, hey, would you like to go on a walk with me? Or hey, you know what? I heard that song the other day. That's your favorite. Do you want to listen to it with me? Or would you like me to read you a story and maybe you'll fall asleep? So just making an offering of something else is the key to this, but you have to do it for yourself first to understand how it works. So when you identify those signals, then you can identify your own nervous system supports for each category. So movement, mindfulness, connection, and rest. So for yourself, you can be doing this right now. You can do this as homework. But I wanted to give you guys time and space to really connect and think about this, and as well as who's in your support circle. So again, we're honoring, again, we're practicing reflect, honor, connect for ourselves. We're honoring what got us to this point. So rather than the blame and the shame of I should have or why didn't I, now it's going to be okay, how do I connect what I'm experiencing to what I need? I'm going to pause for a second. Jason, just let me know if there's anything people want to share right now or any questions.
Yeah, so you do have a question, and I think it's just a challenge to all of us, right? That are doing this work and part of this work or interested in this work. The question is, will there be a designated person or space to assist with rest positions at the DCs in the future? Which is a
Mm.
wonderful question. Yeah. And I don't have an answer for you. I know that as part of the intention of the staff wellness rooms, to be honest with you, and maybe we explore and look at how we make those more of an accommodating space or a place where that would be encouraged or introduced, maybe even. And I think part of what you're doing is introducing some different ways to think about using those spaces, right? And that's really what we really appreciate. And I know that we were looking forward to and hearing from you. How can we be more creative in what we're doing and applying it? So, great question.
So, just sort of in my close or wrapping this up, I just wanted to say I didn't teach you anything, but that's okay because I'm just here to give you permission to listen to your own wisdom and recognize your own wholeness. And that when we do this, we unlock our power. And that's the most important thing. If you want to know what's coming soon, I'm working on a series called Roar Regulation Over Adverse Reactions. And the intro and the first practice are available, I believe. They are available on the Wellness Project as a playlist. I will get more information about that, but I know that the video of the intro is available, so I can share that with you. If you're looking for the trauma informed care resources, the resilience based tools that I mentioned at the beginning, you can go to our trauma informed care webpage, and the wellness practices are available on the Wellness Project webpage. So I think I'm gonna end the slideshow and just open it up. I'd love to hear from people, see people.
Holly, I don't want to put you on the spot. I do have a question. There's not one in the chat, but just thinking about that question that was asked, are we going to have a person or a space for staff to have that like position of rest?
Hmm.
I think it's also a challenge to think about how we provide those opportunities to the people we serve too, right? Those big feelings, they might just need a position, an opportunity to just pause, space, and just rest. Like I think of a person served at a DC that prefers laying on their side when they're having big feelings, right? And
Hmm.
so historically, that may have been related to a stabilization. How do we offer that same person, hey, if you want to lay on your side, let's go to your bedroom. I'll be there. I'll do whatever you need, or I'll sit outside, or I'll give you space. So those things also could, but it's a both and, could apply to the people we serve, inviting them to uh, come to a position of rest, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. And I think that in those situations, people do need to feel safe enough to come into that position. That takes a lot of safety. So when there's enough, then they will know, the body will know what it needs. Um, then we can build in that connection. So, for example, I think, in that little clip that I played, I had people laying down and putting their legs on a chair and resting that way. That's a wonderful position, but I would say you really have to know who you're with, right?
Mhm.
To know, is this the right thing for them? So I could go on and on with you guys about different resting positions and what they do for the body and how you can help support someone and things that you could say and ways you could be, but you're really talking about holding space for someone so that their nervous system can come into that rebalanced place. That's dropping into a really deep state of safety. So we have to honor where we are, where they are, the environment. Yeah, that's a skill, and I would love to talk about that more with people. But yeah, if we can even start to entertain some of that, I think it would completely change culture.
Mhm. Well, I appreciate it. On behalf of everybody, we appreciate your time, Holly. We appreciate you having the vulnerability and courage to share what you believe in and what you think is going to make a difference for ourselves, the people we love, the people that are important to us, and also to the people we serve and in our developmental centers. So you did a wonderful job. Thank you. And thank you for having the courage to be the first person to do it on our behalf in this series. And we look forward to more partnering and collaboration with you. We greatly appreciate all the knowledge and experience and resources that you can bring to us. I think some people are putting in the chat their thank you to you and looking forward to more and those kind of things. So much respect always and appreciation.
Well, thank you, everyone, and I'll stay on this just for a minute or so if anyone pops a question in that they just want me to address personally. But you can always reach me through email as well.
Okay. And then I'll stop recording and we'll stay on, Holly, just in case somebody has some questions. Thank you all. You guys have a great day. Be safe. Be well.